I think self-service has never worked for big advertisers, mainly because there are so many different pieces to a Taboola campaign that without some sort of internal support, you're going to have a really hard time navigating policy issues, creating whitelists or blacklists for sites, and in general, just understanding the latest trends of the platform, which is changing very quickly. So my recommendation is, if you're serious about native, get an account manager. Our teams do very little other than native. So oftentimes, if you're a brand, you'll be running a bunch of different channels and you'll come from Meta or Google or Amazon into Taboola. And the first thing that you think is, this is super easy. It's just an image and a headline. What could go wrong? And you will fail miserably. So I think experience is really the big differentiator, I guess, between an agency like Xevio and somebody who does not have the experience and has spent the time on the platform. So again, my recommendation is, if you are new to this, understand the platform before you spend your money on it, because it's very difficult to crack native without any experience in the platforms beforehand. We have some of the largest enterprise accounts in the world on Taboola sitting under Xevio. And those accounts are typically a lot more successful than the similar accounts that have tried to kind of open up or encroach into their space without support from an external team like Xevio. Again, we have 50 people here that do nothing but Taboola and the other native channels on a daily basis. And if you assign 1 or 2 people from internally in a brand to kind of compete with this construct that we've built here, it'll be very difficult. We have seen individual and solo affiliates kind of handle the whole approach, but always limited to one account or one vertical. So it's very difficult to do this multiple times, just because you don't have enough hours in the day to kind of understand everything and build up multiple successful brands alone. I think my recommendation for enterprise brands with significant budget is really to, first of all, talk to an account manager at Taboola. And when in doubt, if you're not sure where to start, or you're not sure your money is being spent correctly, talk to an expert. We're here. There are multiple agencies in the world that cater to Taboola and native channels and are dedicated to that. We can help. That's why we exist. So first of all, an agency like Xevio is going to have a lot of connections in the space. We regularly have chats with different advertisers and big spenders to kind of exchange ideas that benefit the people involved in those discussions and us as a company. We also have several direct lines to Taboola itself. So if there's policy issues, we have a direct line to policy. When there's product questions or suggestions, we can suggest those products directly into the product teams at Taboola, which obviously essentially help us shape the direction that Taboola is taking towards what we would need as one of the bigger spenders on the platform. So I think, again, one of our advantages as a big agency that caters to specifically native ads is the direct relationship we have with the different teams at Taboola and Realize. I think self-service is, again, always challenging unless you really have a system in place or are an individual that can dedicate a lot of time to understanding the system that is native advertising. The biggest advantage is just getting more support, more eyes, more knowledge into your campaign. It makes your ad spend more efficient. You don't have to go through a lot of the pitfalls in the learning experience of what Taboola is by yourself. You can kind of skip step by learning from others. My recommendation is always to talk to at least an account manager on Taboola before you launch anything. So don't use their self-service model unless you really aren't planning on spending a lot of money. That is always an option if you have budgets to get a real POC that can help you through your day. And on the flip side, if you really have large budgets and are managing other channels, get an agency, ask for help, hire a freelancer, do anything where you have somebody dedicated that is really focusing on the channel rather than one person that's split between social, search, and native. I think for native, the studios or the need for a dedicated studio is going to gradually be eroded. So we have a studio here. We use it a lot for social and for video production. We do have like photo shoots for Taboola campaigns and especially for creative assets there. But more and more, we've seen AI replace those. So my real recommendation here is that specialized, dedicated design teams aren't necessary anymore for native. I think prompters, people that create stuff, quickly, efficiently, and understand what the platform requires are the way to go. On the flip side, content is still very much human produced. So we do use AI. We're using AI regularly in the generation of landing pages, but they're always edited by people. And just because, ChatGPT can write you a landing page in 10 seconds does not mean that landing page is going to perform remotely as well as a page that is a couple of hours of several people's time put into it to really kind of fine tune those edges and make it perform better. So our recommendation right now, especially on the content side, is use AI as an accelerator, not as a replacement to your internal tools. And with the image generation and thumbnails, there's so much that can be done with AI there. It's really just a question, if you have a really good idea. I remember one of our top creatives back in the day was just me writing on glass with a whiteboard marker and then taking a photo of it. Performed great. That's something that you don't need AI for. You can just do that yourself and play around with different settings on your phone. And it's not complicated, I think, to create a good creative. The hard part is really just getting the entire value stream right. So from click to content to product to purchase, all those pieces have to kind of be in sync before you can see success on native. And that's the hard part. The individual pieces aren't that hard. It's a matter of experience again, right? First of all, we have a ton of people dedicated to this one thing, which makes it very hard for a smaller team or a solo person to kind of compete just alone on a creative side, right? And you cannot be as creative as 30 people who put their heads together daily to kind of crack the next content idea or the next ad idea on Taboola. So that's one huge advantage that dedicated agencies have. And on top of that, we have a lot of data. We're running 70-something accounts, 70 different products on Taboola right now. We understand market trends probably a lot better than most people at Taboola do. And this is really something that gives us a huge advantage when it comes to identifying trends and being very fast at essentially changing course whenever we see markets changing. I don't want to make this sound like a pitch, but we do have the hub that is literally $99 a month. We only charge money for it because we want to limit it to people that are actually spending money on the platform. We have weekly Q&A calls where we can help you understand, is your product, is your approach native correct? If you don't want to spend money, there's tons of YouTube videos that help you understand whether or not you're doing and looking at native correctly. If you feel like you are and it's still not working, get help. It doesn't have to be a dedicated agency, but just ask for somebody to look over your accounts. It can be somebody internally at Taboola or an external agency or service provider. Just don't invest money into something if it's not working. I often see brands that are like, I had a good day 2 weeks ago and since then it's been bad. That's luck. That has nothing to do with you having a product that works. If you had 5 good days and then a bad day, then maybe it's a different story. We can talk about it. But looking at very small time windows or spend windows, it's very easy to kind of paint a nice picture. If you don't look at the whole thing, is my campaign net actually going anywhere? Then people will often have like optimism that isn't founded on data. So my suggestion is, if you're not sure, talk to somebody. There's enough people to talk to at this point about native ads and Taboola, and I'm sure you'll find the right person and get help.